Okay, so I want to greet you. Good afternoon, grade 7 Forest. So it's nice meeting you. Kahit maulan, you are able to attend our online class. So thank you for that. Now, for our discussion for today, what we are going to discuss is about direct and reported speech. Okay? So now, in this case, last time we discussed about past tense and past perfect tenses. So in order for us to understand better the direct and reported speech, we need to understand first how to convert a verb to its past form and to its past perfect tense. Okay? So now, um, the other term for reported speech is indirect speech. So, baka kasi ma-confuse kayo. There are some lessons that the title is direct and indirect. So, indirect speech is also known as reported speech. Okay? So now, observe the dialogue. So, this is our first task. We need to observe the dialogue first. So, we have two dialogues. Okay? So, the first dialogue is, let me read it for you. So, the first dialogue is, our classmate is sick and he is in the hospital, Ben said. So, that is the first dialogue. The second dialogue is, Ben said that their classmate was sick and he was in the hospital. Okay, so those are the two dialogues. So now, can any one of you, can anyone tell me or give me your observation about the difference of the two? Sige nga. What is present in the first dialogue that is not present on the second one? Sige nga, anyone who would like to answer. What is your observation? Any observation will do. Ano ba yung meron dun sa first na wala sa pangalawa? Can you please tell it to me? How about um how about Yuri? Yuri Lim. Yuri Lim, can you please tell me what's your observation? Anong nakikita sa dalawang dialogue? Binasa ko na, 'di ba? Mm. So wala. Walang nakikita, walang opinyon. Yes, Denzel, Isaac, Martin.
Ma'am, I have observed po na the first dialogue, it's Ben who said that his classmate was sick. And the other one, it's reported from the others.
Okay, so good, very good, no? So you come up to an observation that the first one is Ben is really the speaker. So basically, the first one, Ben is the one speaking. Okay, so the second one, it's like it's not Ben who is speaking. Okay, so your answer is correct. So now, how did you come up with that conclusion? Sige, can you please help Denzel? What do you think is the reason why he come up with this kind of observation? Okay, ano yung nakatulong? What punctuation mark can you see? Okay, what punctuation marks pala? Kasi you have two punctuation marks in the first dialogue that we don't have or it's not present on the second dialogue. Sige nga, what are those? Yes, Shinoa. Shianoa. Shanoa. Anyone? Forest? Parang wala akong kausap. Ha, Forest? Open nyo nga yung camera nyo, Forest. Huwag nyo hintayin mainis ako, Forest. I-open nyo nga yung camera nyo. Parang wala akong kausap eh. Okay, sige. Again, my question. According to Denzel, okay, it's like, in number on the first dialogue, kailangan ko ng participation nyo mga anak. Why? Because you need to understand. Kasi mamaya, mas complicated na yan. So, you need to participate. Okay? So, now, in this case, our classmate is sick and he's in the hospital, Ben said. Okay, Rave, salilikan. You've raised your hand. Rave, Jarel. Rave, Jarel, salilikan. Anyone? Wala talaga. Oh, how about,
Apostrophe mark.
sino yon? Again? What pang what punctuation marks can you see on the first dialogue, okay, but is not present on the second dialogue? Sige, what do you call those punctuation marks? In first dialogue, we can see two punctuation marks. Okay, what are those? Yes, Gabriel Pedrola. Gabriel. Gabriel Pedrola. Gabriel Pedrola, can you hear me? Sige, Kelsa May Edkiban. Kelsa May.
Apostrophe po.
Apostrophe? Is that an apostrophe? Double apostrophe yan. Pag isa lang, let's say for example, Mother's Day, di ba may apostrophe yung R, apostrophe tas S, di ba? But double apostrophe, what do you call that? Yung dalawang ganun, ano tawag doon? Di ba? Those
Double
are,
H.
what?
Double quote.
Not double, but it is called quotation mark or quotation mark. Do you understand? So in the first dialogue, we can see a quotation mark. Okay, sige, let me annotate it for you. Annotate ko para makita nyo ha. So, now, in this case, in the first dialogue, we can see quotation mark. Do you understand? So, aside from quotation mark, we can also see a comma. Okay? So now, how about in the second dialogue? Can we see a quotation mark? Probably no or not. We can't see anything. Okay? All we can see is a period because it's a sentence. Okay? So now, according to Denzel earlier, the first one is an example of direct speech. Okay? How did we know that it's direct? Because there is a quotation mark. Kapag may quotation mark tayo, meaning to say, yun yung exact na sinabi ni Ben. Okay? While the second one is like, you are reporting what Ben said. Kaya nga siya tinawag na reported speech because that's not the exact line that Ben said, but you are just repeating or you are just reporting what Ben said. Do you get what I mean? So that's the meaning or that's the example of direct and indirect speech. Okay? So again, in order for us to understand the direct speech, you need to look for the quotation mark and for the exact dialogue. Lahat ng may quotation mark, any dialogue with quotation mark and with comma, those are what we call direct speech. Kakaintindihan. So kapag walang comma, walang quotation mark, that is not a direct speech. It is reported speech. Okay? So now, uh, this example also, the first one is the example of direct speech, while the second one is the example of indirect. Why? Because in the first dialogue, we can see quotation mark. Okay, and what's the exact line? We visited our classmate in the hospital. Ben said. Oh, that's the exact line that the speaker said. Okay, while the second example is the reported speech for what Ben said. And that is Ben said that they had visited their classmate in the hospital. Okay, so now what are we going to do? What we are going to do is to understand on how we are able to convert a direct speech to indirect. Nagkakaintindihan. So, hindi lang dapat natin alam kung ano ang direct and reported or indirect. Kailangan alam din natin kung paano natin siya i-convert. Okay, so now let's try to convert. So, before we convert, let's have the meaning. Sige nga, can you please read the meaning of direct speech? Segundina Altea. Segundina Altea, can you please read?
Direct speech. A direct speech is a sentence that gives a statement or thought in its original form according to how the original speaker said that.
Okay. So now, according to its meaning, a direct speech is a sentence that gives a statement or thought in its original form, according to how the original speaker said that. So, meaning to say, if we are writing a direct speech, it should be based on the exact dialogue that the person said. No more additional words. Do you understand? Kaya nga siya direct eh. Kasi direktang yun yung sinabi niya. So, there is no add-ons. Okay? No additional words. Okay? So, next, so the two examples below are the examples of direct speech. Okay, so yan yung example ko kanina. Now, how about a reported speech? So when we say reported speech, I'm the one who will read. It says here that it is a sentence that expresses the content of the statement without quoting, just like what is done in direct speech. Now, as you notice, class, direct speech and reported speech, they have the same content. When you say content, ibig sabihin in Filipino, parehas lang sila ng nilalaman. But the difference is that in reported speech, we don't use quotation mark. Okay, walang quotation mark. Kasi nga hindi mo naman sinasabi or you are not saying what is the exact dialogue that the person said. Kumbaga yung sinabi ko, kinukwento mo sa iba. Pero yung kinukwento mo at yung sinabi ko, parehas lang naman. Did you get what I'm trying to say? That is reported speech. Okay, so now, let me tell you about this. So according to the note, look closely at teacher Marie's lines. Okay? So the quotation mark and the comma were omitted. The word that was added and the tense of the verb was changed and also the pronoun. So those lines are examples of reported speech. Okay. So now, take a look. Take a look at the example. It's not just you are going to add quotation mark and comma. You need to consider what? The word that. In converting direct to indirect, we need to add the word that. Okay, next one, we need to change the tense of the verb. That's why last time I asked you to have this idea or I've taught you what is the past tense of the verb or what is its present or past perfect tense, 'di ba? Pinag-aralan natin nung nakaraan because magagamit natin siya in converting the direct to reported. So, aside from that, we also need to change the pronoun and those lines are example of reported speech. Okay, sige. Now, let's proceed to the steps. Okay, makinig muna ha. Wala munang kung ano-anong gagawin. Now, let's proceed with the steps. How are we going to change direct speech to reported speech and vice versa? So for the step number one, the quotation mark and the comma are no longer used in reported speech. Okay? So in step number one, in order for us to change direct to reported, we need to remove the quotation mark and the comma. Okay? So napapansin nyo, di ba? In reported speech, Sheila said that her mother or that her grandmother taught her how to cook. Okay, can we see a comma? Can we see a punctuation mark? As you notice, there is no quotation mark. Okay, um there is no comma. Okay, so that's the step one. Tandaan, dapat walang quotation mark and comma. Okay, now, so let's proceed with step number two. Okay. So step number two is very important because this will be your introductory words. When you say introductory words, these are the words that we need to write first or at the beginning. Sila yung dapat lagi nating inuuna. So again, in order for us to change direct to indirect, you need to begin with the formula. And what is the formula? noun or pronoun plus said. Okay? Ma'am, paano po yon? In the direct speech ang nakalagay, grandmother teaches me how to cook. Sheila said. But po, nung ginawa na siyang reported, naging she said na. Okay. So, she said is correct. Sheila said, still correct. So, alin man doon sa dalawa ang sagot mo, whether Sheila said or she said, both are correct. Nagkakaintindihan ba? So, uumpisahan lagi natin yung sentence sa she said. Nagkakaintindihan. Ma'am, what if the person who told or who told the dialogue is a male? Halimbawa, grandmother teaches me how to cook. Uh, Alan said. In this case, you're going to begin with he said because Alan is a male. Nagkakaintindihan. But in this case, we used she because Sheila is a female or a girl. Nagkakaintindihan. So, laging mag-uumpisa sa noun or pronoun plus said. Okay? So, mamaya ita-try natin yan. Wag muna kayo malito. Easy lang kayo. Yan pa lang yung una nating tinatry. Ibini-breakdown ko, inuunti-unti ko so you won't be confused. Okay, so number 3. In number 3, the word that is used to introduce the reported statement. Okay, so now, you need to begin with noun or pronoun plus said plus that. So, that's the step number 3. Always add that. So, grandmother teaches me how to cook, Sheila said. So, pag kinonvert mo siya into reported, you need to begin with Sheila said that. Okay? So, next one, bakit her? Ano ba si Sheila? We are talking about Sheila's grandmother. So Sheila and grandmother basically they have relationship. So they are related to each other. Therefore, you are going to use the pronoun her. Okay? So Sheila said that her grandmother taught her how to cook. Okay? So that's the step number 3. Add that. Okay, going back to number 1. Step number 1, dapat there is no quotation mark, there is no comma. Step number 2, always begin with she and always begin with noun or pronoun plus said. So, always begin with Sheila said, she said, he said, or kung sino man yung nagsalita, always begin with their names plus said. Okay? Step number 3, plus that. Okay, nagkakaintindihan. So that's the step number 3. So now, let's move forward with step number 4. Ayan. So in step number 4, okay, there it is quite or it's not really complicated, but you need to understand it better. So according to this, the verb form is changed in the direct speech to reported speech. Okay, take a look at the example. This is the direct speech. Grandmother teaches me how to cook. Sige nga. Can you please tell me what is the verb or the present tense of the verb in in the direct speech that was changed in or when it converted to reported speech? In Tagalog, ano daw yung verb doon sa direct speech na ginawa mong past tense nung ginawa na siyang reported? Sige nga, anyone? Anyone nga? Okay. So, how
Ako po, ma'am.
about Francesca? Okay, Francesca Eunice. Francesca Eunice.
Po. Yung teachers po yung napalitan.
Okay, very good. So, from the direct speech, we have the verb teaches. Okay? So, now, when we converted it to reported, it became what? It became what verb?
Taught po.
Okay, very
Taught.
good. So, from teach, you converted it or you changed it to its past tense which is taught. Nagkakaintindihan? So, ang step number 4 ay we need to change the verb to its past tense if the verb is in the present tense. Okay, sige. Now, let's try nga. Let's try. Sige. Let's try. So, this is the direct speech. Dad teaches me how to swim. Okay. Step number 1, dapat walang quotation mark. Step number 2, begin with noun or pronoun. Sige, anyone. How are we going to start? Pag kinonvert natin, paano daw tayo mag-i-start? Sige nga. Paano tayo mag-i-start? What are we going to do? Kanino tayo mag-i-start? Sige. How about Octavio? Paano natin uumpisahan? 'Di ba ayan yung direct speech. O paano natin uumpisahan? We're going to start with the noun or pronoun. Sino daw ba yung nagsalita? Si? Sino?
Sheila.
Okay. Sheila. Very good. So, we will begin with Sheila. Sheila. O after Sheila, ano nang next? Sheila, ano daw yung next? We need formula. Noun plus said. Okay. So, Sheila said. Okay. Step number 3, add.
That.
Okay. So, we are going to start with that. Sheila said that. Okay, sige, close na muna natin. So, in this case, we will begin with Sheila said that. So, what are we going to use? What pronoun are we going to use? Ano ba si Sheila?
Her, ma'am.
Ano ba si Sheila? Babae, di ba?
Her
So,
po.
what pronoun? Okay, very good. We will use her. So, Sheila said that her dad, from present tense, we will change it to, from present tense,
Past po.
past tense. What is the past tense?
Thought po.
Very good. So, that her dad taught her how to swim. So, naintindihan? 'Di ba? So, from direct speech, we converted it to indirect speech. Okay, sige. Let's try another example. Let's try another example. Okay, so now, in this case, sige, gusto ko tuloy-tuloy How about, tuloy-tuloy yung sagot. How about Gail? Gail Jayan. Kanina tayo magsisimula? Paano natin uumpisahan? We will start with the noun or the pronoun.
Betty or she po, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So, it's either Betty or she. So, both are correct, di ba? So, Betty, what's next? Betty.
Said, ma'am.
Okay, very
Noun
good.
or pronoun plus said.
Okay, noun or pronoun plus said. So, magiging Betty said. O, after that, anong idadagdag? Betty said.
That po.
Very good. Betty said that. Okay, sige. In this case, Betty and the child does not have any connection. Hindi natin po pwedeng sabihin na Betty said that her child. Kasi hindi naman niya anak yon. Okay? So, ang according dyan, the child. So, what are we going to use? Iibahin pa ba natin?
The.
Iibahin pa ba natin? No, we are not going to change it. So, magiging the child. So, Betty said that the child. Nagkakaintindihan? Oh, what is the noun? What is the noun?
Nose, ma'am. Nose.
Nose. So, nose, what is the past tense of nose?
New po, new.
New. Spell.
New, ma'am.
Spell.
A-N-E-W.
Good. Okay. So, Betty said that the child knew the answer. Mahirap ba? Mahirap ba, mga anak?
Hindi po.
Okay.
Po, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So, that's how you convert present tense to past tense. Okay, sige. Last example. Who wants to answer? Tuloy-tuloy. Who wants to answer? Sige. You raise your hand and I'll call you. Who wants to answer number 3? Paano natin sisimulan yan? Sige, Romeline. Romeline Mitch. Romeline.
The, the boatman po, ma'am.
Okay, so dahan-dahan na ka. The boatman. Ay, teka lang, walang space. Okay, ano next? The boatman. Ano
Said po.
next? Okay, very good. The boatman said, ano next? The boatman
That,
said
that po.
that,
That po next.
that,
The fisherman.
the
The
fisherman,
fisherman po.
mm, next. That the
Had
fisherman
caught po. Had
had
caught
caught
po.
ba? Had caught ba or caught lang? Kasi catch siya, no? Present tense lang siya. Gagawin lang natin siyang past tense, hindi past perfect. 'Di ba pag past perfect, we need to use had. In this case, past tense lang, hindi pa siya past perfect. So ano lang? The boatman said that the
Ano
fisherman
po?
had caught or caught?
Had, ma'am.
Are
Caught.
you sure? Had caught or caught?
Caught.
Caught lang. Okay. So the
Caught.
boatman said that the fisherman caught fish. Okay? So that
Fish.
is the answer. Maliwanag? Bakit hindi po pwede yung had caught, ma'am? Kasi mga anak, when we say had caught, that is not a past tense. If we use had, that is past perfect tense. 'Di ba? Ang kinakailangan lang natin ay past tense, not past perfect tense. Did you get me, mga anak? Did you get me? So don't worry ha. This lesson is recorded. I'm going to upload this lesson, okay, on my YouTube channel. Po pwede nyo tong panoorin ulit if you will not if you don't know, or if you want to watch it again. Po pwede nyo siyang balikan kapag nakalimutan nyo. Okay? So i-upload ko to. Next one, sige. Let's move forward with this. Okay, sige. Now, in this case, tignan muna natin may papakita ko sa inyo. I-check muna natin yung answers natin kung correct. Okay, sige. Ito yun Nandito natin makikita kung ang ating sagot ay tama. Saan na ba yun? Let's wait wait lang. Inalis ko muna. Ay, mali pala. Okay, sige. Wait lang ha. Naglolo ko Ako nawala. Okay, so I'm sorry dahil nawala siya. Ito na, pakita na natin. Sorry. Okay, so ayan. So can you see what's on the screen? Ito yung ginawa natin kanina. Ito yung sinagutan natin kanina. So let's see if it's correct. Okay? So number 1, dad teaches me how to swim. So Sheila said that her dad taught her how to swim. So answer number 1, correct. Number 2, Betty said that the child knew the answer. Okay, number 2, correct. And number 3, the boatman said that the fisherman caught fish. So number 3 is also correct. Okay? Sige. So now, for our next topic, or for our, hindi next lesson next topic lang. Share screen ko ulit sa inyo para makita nyo. Okay? So for our next, di ba, pag present tense, we will convert it to past tense. What if, Ma'am Bremen, if it's already in the past tense? Okay? How are we going to change it to reported speech? Take a look at the example number 1. Grandmother taught me how to cook. Okay? Is this an example of direct speech? Yes, because we can see a punctuation mark, or we can see a quotation mark. So direct speech yan. But the difference of this one to the first one is that in this case, the direct speech uses present tense. But in letter B, in this example, the direct speech uses past tense. Okay? If it's in the past tense, we will change it to past perfect tense. Okay, sige. Now, let's try to answer. Ito yung sinasagot kanina ni Romeline. Okay, ito yung sinasagot niya kanina. So, number 1. Ako magsasagot muna ha, in number 1. Tignan niyo yung gagawin ko. So, in number 1, tignan nyo. So, we will answer this by this or by this way. Sheila said that, okay, her grandmother. Okay, so now, according to this, from past tense, we will make it as past perfect tense or we will convert it to past perfect tense. Now, what will be our verb? Sheila said that her grandmother, or what will be the verb? Mga anak, what will be the verb?
Had taught po.
Okay, very good. Had, wait lang ah. Okay, so had taught her how to cook. Okay? So kanina, you just converted the verb teaches to taught. While in the second one, since it's already in the past, you will convert it to past perfect tense, which is had taught. Okay? So Sheila said that her grandmother had taught her how to cook. Okay? So that's how you answer it. Maliwanag? Okay, who would like to answer number 2? Who wants to answer number 2? Oh, who wants to answer number 2? How about Francel Balondo? Francel Balondo, number 2. The verb is already in the past tense. Knew. Okay, what is the past participle of knew?
Mama ko po.
Sino yon? Sino yung nagmam ako po? Hindi ko makita eh.
Ako
Okay,
po, ma'am.
sige. Denzel. Sige, Denzel.
Betty said that
Okay, so
the child had known
okay,
the answer.
Betty said that the child had
Known po.
very good, had known the answer. So, hindi po pwedeng had knew. Kasi, knew is a past tense while known is a past participle. Okay? And, makinig, pag sinabi nating past perfect tense, dapat had plus past participle. So, hindi 'di ba po pwede yung had ate, dapat had eaten. Hindi po pwede yung had broke, dapat had broken. Do you get me, class? So, pag nasa past tense na yung verb, you need to